We wore
the color yellow
to represent
mental illness. Kevin Hines is a man who attempted suicide by jumping the Golden Gate Bridge and survived. He had mentioned that after his body hit the water, he realized that he wanted to live and regretted jumping off. Once he got to the surface, he prayed to God to save him and tell him that he did not want to die and he had made a mistake. Today, he is an influencer and a suicide prevention activist. Senior year of Katie Stubblefield high school career, she shot herself in the face and miraculously survived. After surviving the attempt, she received a face transplant, and when asked, she said life is precious and beautiful. Both survivors suffered from depression and tried to take their own lives. However, they regretted their decision and are happy to be alive till this day. This goes to show that things do get better with time. Euthanasia is a word that comes from the Greek word eu, which is good, and thanatos, which means death. So euthanasia means good death.
We believe that euthanasia should be legal because alternative treatments exist. It violates the medical ethics behind euthanasia, and euthanasia is basically representing and it's saying that suicide is okay in certain cases.
I wrote a poem on a personal experience. I remember growing up, not receiving any love from my parents. Life in that house wasn't transparent. My mother was a narcissistic. My father would assist. All those times in my life, I wish I didn't exist. Maybe life would be better without me. The pain was unbearable. God would watch over me and I would be able. As I closed my eyes, I remember one day on a Friday at a tender age of 12. My brother and I were heading to school. My mother told us we weren't going to school. We were happy, excited, thinking that we were staying home. Little did we know our lives would be shattered. My mother came out of the room. She brought out a black box that was in her hand. She began yelling and crying hysterically, clutching tightly to that black box, saying things like she didn't want to live, she was going to take her life and take her kids with her. I couldn't believe her. All I kept thinking is that this is going to be a murder-suicide. My heart was racing, my palms sweating, and my body was so weak. We told her we love her, and you don't have to do this. She said, I'm tired of this. She opened up the black box and pulled out a pistol, 9mm. She then walked up to me and put the gun against my temple. She pressed it so hard. I couldn't think straight. I thought she was supposed to love us, but instead she hated us. She then put the gun against my twin brother's head, felt like I kept blacking out and we would be dead. We pleaded and we pleaded until she gave up and gave up the gun. I am here with you today because I stand against euthanasia. I'm against suicide, and there's different ways on how to get through things. People recover, so euthanasia to me would not be the number one result. Everyone deserves a chance. Point one, our point, there's different alternatives to treat mental illness. You can take pills to treat mental illness. You also can take counseling to treat mental illness instead of resorting to euthanasia. And also, I just feel like everyone deserves a chance, and so do you.
The second point that I will be addressing is in regard to the medical ethics in relation to euthanasia. Firstly, I believe that euthanasia heavily violates medical ethics in regard to the physician/patient relationship. Should doctors participate in euthanasia? Questions, concerns, and debates arise around medical ethics in regard to euthanasia, and I am going to discuss medical ethics in regard to euthanasia and discuss the consequences behind it. First of all, I wanted to speak about an association known as the World Medical Association of Medical Ethics. They have a list of ethical guidelines that explain the physician and patient relationship, and it speaks about all the physician duties that they have towards a patient, and some of this includes that the physician shall care for the patient, give medication, check up on the patient, and most importantly, that the point that I found the most interesting is that it says that a physician's duty shall bear in mind the obligation to respect human life. For my interpretation, I believe that this means that if a patient comes to a doctor and they ask to be euthanized because they're going through unbearable suffering, I feel as if the doctor should not instantly go and say, yeah, I'm going to go through this to make you happy, and the physician should not feel pressured to go through with it to make the patient happy, because in most cases, for patients that want to go through euthanasia, in reality, they really don't want to die. It's just like a cry for help, or they feel like they're a burden to other people. So I feel as if the physician or a doctor, they should sit with the patient and speak with them and ask them what's wrong, what their alternative treatments that we could take, and speak with them instead of instantly going through the process of euthanasia all because they feel pressured to. And I feel as if doctors who don't do this, I feel as if they're acting unethically. Next, I want to speak about a commentary from the Center of Bioethics, Faculty of Medicine. One of the authors, Rue Nunes, he explains why euthanasia violates medical ethics, and he says that the morality of medicine is questioned. I 100% agree with Rue Nunes, and I also want to add on that not only is the morality of medicine questioned, but the morality of the physician's actions are questioned as well. I feel as if Nunes is trying to say that the morality of medicine is questioned because he's trying to explain that if the medicine that's prescribed to a patient, if it's not working and the patient is still suffering, even though they're being provided medication, I feel as if the physician should go out of their way, go through any means necessary to provide the patient the correct medication. Because if medication is not working for the patient, then what's the whole purpose of prescribing medicine to patient if it's not 100% working for that patient and relieving the pain for that patient? Next, I want to speak about the Hippocratic Oath, which is an oath that was written in ancient Greece in 600 BC. This oath is basically saying a lot of physicians historically had to swear on this oath, and it's saying that the physician shall not cause harm to the patient, and this is exactly why the Hippocratic Oath heavily opposes euthanasia. And in Dennis's civilian's case study, he goes into detail more about the Hippocratic Oath, and he explains the Hippocratic Oath as I will neither give a deadly drug to anybody who asks for it, nor will I make a suggestion to this effect. And the ethics of physical professions have been guided over 2,400 years from the Hippocratic Oath. So why till this day do we have euthanasia legal in some countries? Also, just to add on, even medical students till this day, before they even begin their profession in the hospitals, they have to swear on the oath of the Hippocratic method. Lastly, I want to speak about the large emotional toll that euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide has on the physician themselves. So there was a telephone interview study of 38 U.S. oncologists. They said that after they performed euthanasia or physician-assisted suicide, that 1/4 of them instantly regretted their decision. Evidently, euthanasia is emotionally disturbing for the physician, emotionally distressing, and 16% reported that it's an emotional burden for them. Also, even in Belgium, physicians and nurses have to take psychotherapy after they perform euthanasia on a patient. And this is exactly why I'm saying the medical ethics is questioned in regards to euthanasia, and doctors shouldn't participate in euthanasia because of all of these factors. Doctors seem to be losing hope in patients. They're not considering the value of the human beings' lives. So why should doctors even participate? Why should doctors participate in euthanasia, and why should doctors be the ones who choose which lives are more valuable than others, which is what we're getting into our next point.
Next that we're going to talk about is, according to the website Healthline Euthanasia, it's a topic of ongoing debate. There's been a good amount of research done about people's opinions about it and how frequently it's actually used. A 2013 poll in the New England Journal of Medicine found that 65% of people in 74 countries were against euthanasia. In the United States, 67% of people were against it. By 2017, a Gallup poll found a large shift in attitudes in the United States. Almost 3/4 of people supported euthanasia. Another 67% say doctors should not be allowed to assist patients with suicide, which in my opinion, doctors should not be allowed to assist patients with suicide. According to a peer-reviewed paper published last year in the Respect Journal JAMA, between 0.3% to 4.6% of all deaths are reported as euthanasia or physical assisted suicide in jurisdictions where they are legal. In my personal opinion and based on my personal experience, I think euthanasia should be illegal everywhere because it shows that suicide is okay and it shows that life is not worth it, which if it is, because if it's not, I won't be here today. According to Professor Dr. Dio, a former member of one of the Holland 5 Euthanasia Regional Review Committees 2005-2014, has undertaken a study which will be published shortly, which in his words shows the percentage of euthanasia deaths of the total mortality rate rippled from 1.3% in 2002 to 4.0% in 2016. During the same period, the suicide numbers did not go down. So for every 1,567 in 2002, they went to up to 1,071. In 2015, a rise of 19.4%. The suicide rate reached a little bit low of 1,353 in 2007, compared to which the 2015 numbers consisted of rise of 38.3%.
Although to some people euthanasia is wrong, in some cases it should be legal. Now, the reason why I think it should be legal is because growing up, I personally didn't know my dad, but I was very close with my best friend dad. Now, one thing was he was an alcoholic, and being an alcoholic, he felt like he was basically a burden on people, so he kept saying he wanted to die, he didn't want to be here, and eventually he drunk himself to death, where it so just happens that his grandkids were there. Now, that was something that traumatized them, and they had to put them in therapy to get that image out of their head and things like that. So, and that is something that could be passed on. They're gonna see it, and one of them, one of the twins actually, they been talking about committing suicide because they can't get that image out of their head. So had he been able to go somewhere and do it quietly, even though it would have been a sad thing that he's no longer here, at least it wouldn't be the last image they have of him in his head. So this is why I believe that euthanasia should be legal, and this concludes our presentation. And we are
The Avengers.